It's not because he's better necessarily. It's because he just gets every fucking ball back in play. And in sales, you've got to be a human backboard. One thing, if I could jump in, like one thing that Josh said that I think it was really critical is if I'm reading is it says, and I've done thousands of sales calls myself at this point, and if I can piggyback off of what Josh said, I think what's really critical, especially in a phone sales situation, like he said something very critical. If you're in person, it's a way different dynamic, right? Because you can see the person, you can read the body language, you can see the facial expressions, you can kind of judge what they're thinking, right? But on the phone, you have to create the mental picture, right? You have to learn how to almost read. You almost have to, it's like a transfer of energy, right? You almost have to read the situation telepathically. I know it sounds weird and like kind of like a ninja thing, but you got to read the situation. And the thing about it is, and in my experience, is you got to be like a human backboard. I think of myself like there's a tennis player. His name is Novak Djokovic. He's the number one player in the world. He's not as talented like as Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal, but what makes him so great is that he fucking is a human backboard. He gets balls back in play that other people just give up on. He just he absorbs the blows, he absorbs the blows, he absorbs the blows, he wears the other opponent down, and before you know it, the other opponent makes an error and he wins the point. It's not because he's better necessarily, it's because he just gets every fucking ball back in play. And in sales, you've got to be a human backboard. These people are probing for weakness. You've got to be, if you're not sure of what you're selling, they're going to smell weakness. They're probing. They want you to break down. They want you to be weak. You got to be a human backboard. You got to get the ball back in play, and you got to get the ball. You got to get it back in play one more time than your opponent.
Right. Gotta get the point.
You got to get the point,
Absolutely.
and you got to. So my thing is, and I could ramble on like Josh for hours on this. It's just you got to be very firm. You got to be very structured. You've got to let that person know that what you're offering is not only the solution to their problem, but that you're the authority figure on the solution, if that makes sense. And
Yes.
if you're not convicted, if you're not,
Absolutely.
baby, if you're not drinking the holy water yourself, dude, they're gonna smell it a mile away, and they're gonna probe and probe, and they're gonna break you down. That's what Josh said. That's when you start breaking down. They outlast you by 1 point, and then suddenly you start caving. You start lowering the price. You start making the so-called shitty deal, right? So my thing is just be a human backboard, get the ball back in play, absorb every shot they're giving you, be Novak Djokovic, just be firm, and win and just win the match 1 point at a time, if that makes sense.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, that's something that I call like the art of sales, and this ART is art is acknowledge, respond, transition. So it's kind of exactly what everyone's talking about right there. You always want to acknowledge what they're saying. You don't want to just acknowledge and say, yeah, only though. You want to respond to it so they know you're listening actively, but you want to maintain control of the conversation by transitioning. You have to keep the power on that phone call because that's when they're testing you, they're poking, they're testing you, but they also don't want somebody who's weak. If you're going to be helping them run their business, they want to make sure that you are the authoritative figure in your industry that they're coming to you for, or else they'd be doing this shit themselves. Well, guess what? They can't. They came to us for it, right? Or else they'd be doing all these things by themselves. They just can't do it. But they need to know that you're listening, you care, you're responding, but you're transitioning, you're still holding the power because they want someone that's doing a power play and putting it back on the court every single time to go off of what these two guys are saying.
Yeah, to go off on that as well, it's like, yeah, you're asking all these questions and probing for like the issues that they think they have in their business. But what if you are the expert and you know even more issues that they didn't even know about? Then they start like taking your lead, right? So like it's a lack of, they say it's a lack of web presence. Well, another issue is like it might be you don't have a GMB or you need more GMB or you need this and this and that. You first let them like go into their issues that they think, but then you present them with like a little bit more other problems that they didn't even think they had.
Right.
So now they look at you as the expert, the solution to fix. Oh, I didn't even know about that, but this guy can fix all these things. So yeah, just to add to that.
Yeah, totally. Well, in the local business space, like a lot of times, the number one thing you get on the phone is them go, "Oh, I already have a website," right? And you guys, everyone here should know the answer to this, right? Which is the answer is, I totally get it. Let me explain why this is different, because a website's like a business card. If you keep it in your pocket and don't give it to people, it's useless. Like a website's only as good as people finding it. And then you transition into the problem. But a lot of times, if you don't know how to acknowledge that and say, hey, be agreeable, and then transition into, but the real problem is this, it's not having a website, it's you're not ranked, you're not getting the customers, then you're gonna lose them. Like they're not gonna understand the value in what you do. And it's actually our responsibility, it's your responsibility to bring that to them, to show them the value, to create the value. Like that's another thing that's important for everyone, is like to create value on a sales encounter. Don't think that they should just know the value of it. Like we build up a story, an arc. There's like it's almost like a movie. Like imagine if you watched the movie and it had one emotion and that was it, and the movie ended.
Right.
Like you have to build a compelling, like you're almost like building a building.
Yeah, like when I'm selling, I'm trying to get them to envision themselves in that X amount of money that they're trying to get to, in what they're trying to accomplish, with more time with their family, with a team that is handling their stuff because shit's going so smooth. Like you need to make them envision that. You need to forward project that onto them. And you need to let them know that that does not exist without my expertise, or else you would not be on the phone with me right now.